Today we're going to try to go through some of the similarities and differences between this 4075R and 5075E. We're going to cover the weight, the turning radius. We're going to show you several different attachments in action, relate some of our experiences. We've used both of these tractors now in quite a lot of situations. It's not going to be easy. These are different tractors, but we'll try to help. Let's get started. There's a lot of overlap in the horsepower on these two sizes. The 5E in the 3-cylinder version of the 5E goes the 50, the 60, the 67, and the 75. I'll just kind of simplify this myself and say that you just need the 75, and I'll get into that a little bit more. On the 4 series, the 4R, you go all the way from the 44, then the 52, 66, and now the new 75. So somewhat of an overlap there, right? From 50 to 75 here, from 44 to 75 on the 4R. The horsepower, just to cut to the chase here, is about the only similarity in these tractors. There are so much different, and that's why it becomes difficult for you to decide. Hopefully we can help a little bit. We've ran both of these machines on a lot of different attachments now. I really think we can help you at least understand the differences. We can't help you decide because your situation is going to be different. Beyond the horsepower, the differences become, well, significant. The cab is where I want to start here on the 4R. It's much, much smaller. This is the same size cab as used on the 3R. To that end, making a decision between the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4 series in the Deere line is much easier than trying to make the decision between these two, hence the reason for this episode. It's very nicely appointed. From my experience, this is the nicest cab in the industry in this size range. I don't see anything else that compares from a luxury standpoint. It's just very comfortable. It is small. Now, in contrast, the 5E cab is quite large. And this is the most primitive utility tractor cab in Deere's lineup, but it turns out to be remarkably quiet. It's quieter than the 4R. I don't have good numbers on that. It's hard to have good numbers on it, but yes, it's a quieter cab, even though it's considered the most primitive. And that's one of the things you need to recognize here, is that even though this is an R tractor, this is an E tractor, they don't map in that sense. It's not like you can say that the R tractor is more luxurious in every way than the E because of the series change. That's what we're seeing here. This cab is remarkably nice for the price range that it's quoted. That's another thing. This tractor is a lot cheaper than this one if you get it in its base configuration. Now you can dress it up. I added an air seat, a buddy seat. Now they have what they call a deluxe cab. So you can begin to dress this up. You can get it into the similar price range, but if you're looking for price alone, this one's actually cheaper. Let's talk about the engine differences in these tractors. This one has a Yanmar 2.2 liter turbocharged intercooled engine, 75 engine horsepower, 60 PTO horsepower, identical ratings on both of the machines from that. I think it's actually 74.3 here, and I don't know the 74 point whatever over here. This one's a 2.9 liter Deere engine. In the current generation, mine's a little bit older, but in the current generation, there is no regen on this tractor. It does that kind of automatically in the background. There is no standalone regen. This one still has a regen. Mine has not regen since I've had it. I don't know. We've pulled it really hard, so maybe that's part of it. As an aside, this tractor has almost 1,200 hours on it, even though it's brand new. And when I say brand new, when we got it, the tires still had the knobbies on it. The drawbar was not worn at all. Nothing was worn in that sense. I believe all of the hours were just the tractor running to test the engine, probably to test regen and that type of thing. So significant engine differences, even down to the point of who manufactures the engine. That's a big difference in these tractors. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we get showing some of the attachments. The transmission's radically different. The 4075 is only offered in a hydrostatic drive. The 5E 3-cylinders, the 5075E, is only offered in a gear drive transmission. No shift on the go, nothing that allows you to change speeds in any way on the go other than your throttle, of course. Now, they do offer a power reverser transmission. That's what I have here. It's a 12-speed power reverser. They also offer a 9-speed transmission, a little less expensive, that does not have the power reverser feature on that, so no shuttle shift on it. Now, I use this tractor quite infrequently. This has turned out to be a tractor that doesn't fit us very well, I would say because of the gear drive transmission. Christy won't drive it at all. So we only have, I think, 125 hours on it, and a lot of those have been used with the local antique tractor club, where they've done some farming with it. We pull the disc and a plow once in a while with it on their property. Other than that, we don't use it very often. One feature that we really like about it is the strong lift capacity at the loader. Loader capacities are a lot different on these tractors. This self-leveling loader on the 5E is somewhere around 2,900 pounds at full height. This one is 2222 at full height. That's with the non-self-leveling. These numbers, and when I use these numbers, I'm not talking about at the pivot pin, I'm talking about in the bucket. And that's another difference. I believe the 4R is measuring 500 millimeters ahead of the pin, whereas the 5E is 800 millimeters ahead of the pin. So that shows the brute strength of this loader is going to be much, much higher. It is in a different class, there's no question. Having said that, the 4R loader, the 440R loader, is a lot stronger than the 3R. So if you're coming from the compact tractor side, you're going to notice a big increase in the 4R. If you're used to larger tractors like the 5s, you're probably going to find the 4 wanting if you're thinking about stepping to that hydrostatic transmission. 27 feet diameter, even. So that'd be 13.5-foot radius. 20 foot 7 inches for the 4075. That would be 10 foot 3.5 inches, 10 foot 3, something like that for the turning radius. The Deere numbers for the 5E are 15.3 feet turning radius. We got 13.5 feet. For the 4R, we got 10.25 feet, and Deere says 9.84 feet. I still don't understand how Deere does their numbers. Maybe they're on concrete instead of grass, maybe there's, but we're at least in the ballpark. The summary here on the turning radius is the 4R will turn a lot shorter and will get you into a lot tighter places than the 5E, and I think that's important. Total weight, 9,900 pounds. We're full of fuel. Probably need a little hydraulic oil, so maybe 10 or 30 pounds there, but left front's 2760, right front 2780, left rear 2210, right rear 2150, which seems fairly accurate. The left side will probably have just a little bit more fuel in it, but other than that, that's pretty consistent. 9,900 pounds, we'll take the loader off now. 8270, 8280, somewhere total, depending on the wind.
Yeah, depending on the wind.
Left front 1460, right front 1450, left rear 2680, right rear 2680. Remember, there's rim guard in these tires, so we'll subtract off the rated amount of rim guard. We don't know exactly how much,
Right.
but these are 16928s. We can look it up at rimguardsolutions.net/TTWT. The best part of rim guard or any liquid tire ballast is you can't see it. It's not in the way. It's a lot less expensive than...
Unfortunately, you can't smell it.
Yeah, it does stink. 2 wheel weights, I believe they're 110 or 115 pounds each on each side. I think they're 110s. So that's 440 pounds of wheel weight. But no rim guard, half a tank of fuel, maybe a little less than half a tank of fuel. 6230. 1690 on the left front, 1700 on the right front, 1420 on the left rear, 1420 on the right rear. Total 6230. 5260, 5270. It's going back and forth. 1020 on the left front, 1030 on the right front, 1610 left rear, 1610 right rear. 5270 total. We take off the 440 pounds. I believe the factory rated is 4828.
Hey, we did not intend to match today. we usually try not to do that, but we weren't in the room at the same time.
Yeah, I don't know how we ended up with the same shirt. Okay, well, enough of the stats for a little while. Why don't we've got one attachment here, that big disc.
Yeah.
Big, 8-foot disc.
Big for us.
Yeah, let's take it out and we'll see if we can do a pulling comparison between the two on that disc.
Okay.
That'll be one more thing we can try here in this comparison, and then after that I'll provide you a summary and some of my opinions.
I won't, because I don't drive the 5.
Okay, you just got Christy's opinion right there.
No, you didn't ask, but I gave it anyway.
We've got this disc, a tough line disc, the same as the Frontier disc, by the way. This is the 8 or 8.5 foot disc. I plowed this property, not the whole property, this little area here, a few weeks ago, just testing that rollover plow. I did not do it on video, and so now I'm out here with the disc. The settings I'm using right now on the disc are the exact same we used on a farm a few weeks ago, so I haven't changed that, but I think I may now. I think I may change them. I'm gonna see if I can run it just a little bit deeper. So I'll stop right here, and I'm gonna set the depth stop a little bit deeper, and we'll go from there. Optimally, I'll find the deepest that this machine will pull it, and then we'll try it on the 5E. Now, one limitation that I'm noting already in this machine is that the A range goes up to about 4.5, 4.6 miles per hour. And the B range doesn't have enough power to pull a ground engaging attachment like this. So there's an effective limitation then of about 4.5 miles per hour to pull an attachment like this. And on the farm, oftentimes we would like to run a disc or a plow or any sort of ground engaging, maybe in the 5 to 6 mile per hour range. Okay, I can definitely pull it that deep, so I'll just pull the depth stop out. We'll not have any depth stop at all. Depth stop.
I need dust stop. Woo.
Okay, I wish I had some wetter or just some more challenging conditions for this disc. Given the way it's set right now, this is as deep as it'll cut. Christy, I hope this dust is not going right at you. Looks like it's close. Sorry about that. Now, when I was disking this spring with the 5E, I didn't have any trouble finding its max. We could not pull it all the way deep like this. I do wish I could run a little bit faster. In fact, let me try it in the B range. I'll just step up here in the B range right now. I say I want to run it faster, but it rides so rough I can't hardly ride it. I am in the B range now, and I'm going along pretty well. Here we go, 5.7, 5.4, 5.7. Oh, it won't handle it there. I keep saying one more round, one more round, one more round, and then I keep running multiple rounds. Okay, I think the verdict is in at this point. In these conditions, with this disc, I'm able to go about 5 miles an hour. Yet this camera's not able to go 5 miles an hour. It didn't hold on. I think that'll be enough with this tractor. We'll try the 5E. Okay, so we're going 5 miles per hour now with this machine. Much nicer. First, it handles at a consistent speed because it's a gear drive. Secondly, it's riding a lot smoother. Oh, I'm running in 2-wheel drive. Let me see if I can go the next gear higher. 6.5, 6.6 miles per hour. It's all at once. This is, I would say, about the practical limit for, you know, being wholesome on the tractor. It's handling it fine, but it's, you know, doesn't need any more. Again, 2 observations here. One is that it rides a lot easier, right? I can handle the ride at these faster speeds much nicer. The second is with the gear drive transmission, I can maintain that speed a lot easier, and clearly I have more power to the ground. There's just no question about that. The thing is, it's not all positive with the 5E. The clutch, for instance, is jumpy. It is hard to move forward, say 1 inch or 2 inches, or it jerks, and it's nearly impossible, and it makes you feel like a fool not being able to you know, handle it gingerly. And the second that I want to mention that's not all positive is there is no shift on the go. The only thing I've got is my throttle. That's really the only thing I can do to adjust speed. And yeah, I can use that to some degree, but if you're running a PTO application, you know, a lot of times you need to try to maintain a constant RPM. Let's talk a little bit about the E versus the R. Now, typically in Deere's nomenclature, E means it's less feature, the economy level, and then the M is a mid-level, and the R is a, I don't know, really extravagant model, I don't know. But it's the one typically that has the most features. But you can only use that philosophy or that way of thinking within a given class. So for instance, a 5E is going to have less features and be less fancy than a 5M and less than a 5R, the late 5R, I guess. They stopped making them in 22, I think. But you can't say that a 4R is going to be less feature rich than a 5E. That's something that it might be tempting to think, but quite frankly, there really isn't much on this tractor that's not on this tractor from a feature standpoint. The cab over here is actually quieter. It's still primitive compared to the 5M and 5R, but it's pretty much the same. The way the controls work are pretty much the same. This one does add the electronic 3-point hitch. This one does not have that. But other than that, I would consider the 5E, with the upgrades that I've made, or the deluxe cab, I guess, is a way of saying it now, to be of similar features to the 4R. So it's time for some opinions. And this is where it gets difficult, right? Because opinions are just that. They are oftentimes based on fact, but they're always twisted a little bit by one's own needs or one's own applications, and I can't help that. For me, for almost everything I do, a hydrostatic transmission is superior to a single speed gear transmission. Now, the 5R tractor has, or had, I guess the 5M now has it, the Command 8, I believe, or whatever. It's a very fancy shift on the go, power shift transmission that will electronically allow you, it'll choose the right gear to go the speed you want to go. It's very nice. If I had an opportunity for that transmission in this tractor, my opinion would be radically different. Of course, the 5M, 5R is much more expensive, which, you know, makes sense. Cab size. This guy's cab is small, okay? And it's a tight fit. It is not quiet compared to the higher end tractors. The 8R tractor that I was in just the other day on the family farm was from, I don't know, it's quite old. It's an 8410 John Deere, not even an 8R. It's before the 8Rs, and it was 74 or 75 dB on my watch. Obviously not high tech there. This one was 82. I forgot to measure this one, but it's much quieter than this one. The jumpy clutch on this tractor almost makes it such that my finance committee is insisting that I get rid of it. And it is that serious. She will not drive this tractor. She refers to it as too big, and I don't think that's quite accurate, okay? It is larger, but I think it's the jumpy clutch, it's the single speed transmission, it's the not such good turning radius. Again, the 5R had a more advanced front end, and it would turn a lot shorter. I don't think it's purely the size of this tractor that makes it too big. I think it's the transmission and the turning radius and the jumpy clutch. The three of those put together make it just feel less maneuverable, less handy. The loader capacity on this is phenomenal. It does have more hydraulic flow. You can read those specs in the literature. I don't see much use to going through a whole lot of that, but I do want to point out some of those things. Now, with regards to the transmission here, on this particular tractor, I've not experienced this on any other 4R, but there's a little bit of a surge. If I hold the pedal consistently going very slow, it will lunge a little bit. I've never experienced that on another 4 Series tractor from John Deere, and for that reason I probably should not mention it, but on the other hand, that's what we do here. So I suspect there's something just out of adjustment on this particular machine. If you've seen that same thing, list it in the comments, but I'll hold that pedal consistently at a very slow speed, like trying to back up to hook onto the disc or something, and it will lunge just a little bit. So I've shared some of these opinions, and I hope you find that helpful. Now, which one should you buy? Well, if I had one guiding factor, I would say if I want to do ground engaging work, I want strength, and I'm willing to put up with a little bit of pain as far as the transmission goes and the jerky clutch, things not being quite perfect there, I'd go with the 5E. If hydrostatic transmission is important to me, there's no question I've got to go with the 4R, or if open station, you could even go with the 4M. You would get that same capability. Of course, less horsepower. Now, we've been talking about the 3-cylinder 5E tractors. There's another set of 5E tractors that are 4-cylinder that go up to significantly more horsepower. Then there's the 5M series, the 5R series. So the comparisons that I've been making today are only applicable to the 5E 3-cylinder. Even the 5E 4-cylinder has different choices, a little bit of different cab options. It's a little bit confusing, I recognize that. And for those, you may need to step up to a different YouTuber, because we've kind of drawn the line so far at the 5E 3-cylinder. That's as big as we're going to try to really have an expertise in. If you guys think that it would be useful for us to look at a 5M, let us know in the comments below. It might be something we would be interested in doing, but we're just trying to find that balance, what's useful for you, the viewer. Let us know in the comments if you got anything else that you'd like to see on this 4R tractor. If you got any questions or any feedback on the difference between these machines, we'd love to hear it. I think we may try to put this machine on our brush mulcher and get some more of this brush down here. It's rated at too high of a PTO horsepower, but, well, I guess if we break it, we'll fix it. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time on Tractor Time with Tim.
For wisdom is more precious than rubies, and nothing you desire can compare with her.
Boy, the wind's really picked up. That's great.
Yeah.
Hey, it's still recording.
Huh.
This is why we have to buy new equipment every so often.